On Grid tonight, we'll discuss the latest news from IndyCar, the return of Sebastien Bourdais for 2021, Lewis Hamilton being investigated by the FIA, or is the FIA investigating a rules regulation, and the 24 Hours of Lemans is this weekend. We'll preview the great race right here on Grid tonight. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Tonight. Joe Samaniego here, welcoming you to your weekly news program. Kobe Lambis is out on a news assignment tonight, but as soon as he can get back to us, he'll have a couple news stories to report for us. So definitely we're hopeful to see Kobe later today in the program. We'll start with the big news that came out of the FIA Formula One. Monday morning, news broke that the Federation, the International Automobile, was reviewing the pre-race guidelines of what could be worn. Originally, it was reported that the FIA was investigating if Lewis Hamilton had broke any rules in the 2020 sporting regulations. This was all brought out Sunday after Lewis Hamilton won the Tuscan Grand Prix, the 90th race win of his career. Lewis wore a shirt that read, "Arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor," and on the back, an image of Breonna Taylor and the words, "Say her name." This is the same shirt Lewis Hamilton wore in the pre-race moment in which all the drivers wear a black shirt with "End Racism" on the front. Most of the drivers kneel during this moment. A couple do stand. F1 has raced with a We Race as One campaign since the start of the 2020 season, aiming to bring awareness to racism and the injustice going on. Now, after this news report, Mercedes did have a quote from Toto Wolff from Saturday in which Toto Wolff said, "The team is fighting against any kind of racism and discrimination, and it is Lewis' personal fight for Black Lives Matter, and with all the support we can give him, it's his call." So definitely we see where Mercedes do support Lewis Hamilton with everything he is doing. One of the big things, of course, with this investigation by the FIA, a lot of people were starting to wonder how sincere was the FIA with their We Race as One campaign. The case of Breonna Taylor, medical personnel who was shot at her home when police mistakenly invaded the wrong house conducting a search warrant. It was a very tragic, unfortunate event in Kentucky, but it was in cases like this, George Floyd, and many others that sparked essentially the global movement we are seeing across the world when it comes to racism. So for Lewis Hamilton to bring up one of the cases that brought up essentially this movement, some people were really concerned, why would the FIA try to investigate him? Of course, as it was clarified, the FIA was not investigating Lewis Hamilton, but rather more what kind of regulations in the clothing race car drivers teams are allowed to wear. This is definitely a story we're going to be following throughout the ongoings as it continues to develop. And definitely we encourage everyone, if you have any questions, want to share comments in the chat room, please feel free to do so. We'll try to get your comments and questions answered on the air. Now, one of the big stories that came out yesterday as well, Sebastien Bourdais, he is going to be returning back to IndyCar full-time. He'll be driving for AJ Foyt. Originally, he was going to drive for him this year for a few select races. Of course, the pandemic has changed everything to where it has delayed his start with the AJ Foyt team. Sebastien said he's very excited about it. We got to participate in the press conference yesterday. Here's what Sebastien had to say.
And super happy and excited to be on board the journey, and couldn't be more excited to get things going and get back in the 14. And this time it'll be racing time. So yeah, I think we got quite a bit of work, but really happy that we could announce that and make it happen and get to work.
So definitely Sebastien was very excited to be looking forward to coming back into IndyCar next year, looking forward to being part of the Indianapolis Harvest Grand Prix. One of the questions I asked him was, when it comes to the Indianapolis doubleheader, he has won with small teams before. Could he try to utilize strategy to get the second win? Here's what he had to say.
To win a race, whether it's because you get a bit of a lucky call or whether you're just playing straight out of the pace, at the end of the day, you've won the race. And as far as the drivers are concerned, obviously you want to be winning those races on pace. But sometimes it comes your way and you just take it. but definitely the goal going into the Indy GP is to start the relationship, get a race weekend under our belt, and get that program underway. We'll see which side of the performance we land on. Hopefully it's on the competitive side, and if it's not, then we'll just have to dig deeper and keep trying to put things together and come up with something better. So I mean, really, we don't really know where we're gonna be, and we're ready to face those obstacles. But the goal is to do the best we can, and hopefully we can contend and just take small steps after another and make it better.
So definitely very excited to hear Sebastien is going to be back. Very excited as well. Kobe is here. I know you had a busy day on assignment. Kobe, when it comes to AJ Foyt Racing, and now that we have Sebastien Bourdais, is he the right driver to take AJ Foyt to the next level?
Oh yeah, definitely. Sebastien Bourdais is a veteran driver, tons of experience, tons of wins as well. Yeah, and I feel like Sebastien Bourdais is the perfect driver for AJ Foyt Racing to get back. Well, to move forward from the back of the field, to climb to the top. I mean, AJ Foyt Racing is doing a lot better now than it have been in recent years. But I believe that having Sebastien Bourdais and all of the experience that he has, you see right there on the screen, 122 starts, 36 wins, 13 podiums, and 3 poles. He's the right driver that can take them towards the front of the pack.
Definitely, he could take them to the front of the pack. Very excited to see. It's going to be really interesting. Now, one of the things I know you've been a little bit away following that news assignment that we're going to be reporting on later today. I did report on the Lewis Hamilton story. The FIA is, of course, investigating not into Lewis Hamilton, but any rules and regulations. I had mentioned about a lot of people's initial reactions, including my initial reaction when the news came out. I'd like to know, what was your initial reaction on Monday when the news came out about the FIA?
Well, here's what I think. If the FIA punishes Lewis Hamilton for bringing awareness to the lack of justice for Breonna Taylor, their initiative of hashtag end racism and hashtag we racist one is an absolute joke and meant nothing to them. If you truly stand with us, be serious about taking action to make the world a better place. Don't hop on the bandwagon because it seems trendy or want to make yourself look like a decent person. At the end of the day, you are who you are. And it really makes me sad that people get so angry whenever you say, I want everyone from all walks of life to be treated equally. It's not a debate and it's not political. It's simply human rights.
It is human rights. 100% stand with you. If the FIA wants to do anything like that, definitely it will lose all clout that we race as one. And it's going to be really interesting as we follow that news story. One of the big news stories that came out today as well was from IndyCar. Nashville, the Music City Grand Prix is going to be taking place next year in the 2021 season. Essentially this year, 12:15 Eastern today, IndyCar and the city of Nashville, along with the Music City Grand Prix committee, announced a 3-year deal. It's going to be a 2.17 mile temporary street course throughout downtown and around Nissan Stadium campus area. The mayor of Nashville, John Cooper, attended and cited the city's capacity to hold such events that attract a global crowd. One of the big things he also announced with this event, it is self-funded. So essentially, there's no public money, no taxpayer money going towards this event. IndyCar, Music City Grand Prix Committee, and the Tennessee Titans, which is one of the major sponsors of this event, will be footing the bill. Joseph Newgarden, of course, the hometown favorite, was in attendance, and the press conference, August 6th through the 8th, will be the date of the inaugural race weekend. One interesting thing, Butch Spryden, head of the Tennessee Tourist Committee, said this was the 4th attempt to get an IndyCar race in Nashville. Kobe, been a long while since we've seen a brand new street course in IndyCar especially. How excited are you for this event?
After seeing that layout, I'm really excited to see IndyCar come to Nashville. And, NASCAR's returning to Nashville as well at the Nashville Super Speedway. So real nice to see the Nashville market being capitalized on by both series. And after looking at that layout on the street course, it's really crazy to see that long straights. They're going to be going really fast, and especially when they're going over the bridge, which is pretty cool. And I think there's a river underneath. Yeah, so certainly real excited to see IndyCar race on the streets of downtown Nashville, and also NASCAR as well at the Nashville Super Speedway. I understand some people wanted Nashville Fairgrounds to return, but I feel like that's one thing we're just gonna have to wait on for a while. And in the meantime, for NASCAR, just enjoy the Nashville Super Speedway, and for IndyCar, certainly going to be a lot of fun seeing a brand new street course, and then with Joseph Newgarden finally getting a hometown race.
Be very excited to see Joseph Newgarden hometown race. One of the big things I'm really impressed is the fact that this event is going to be self-funded by IndyCar, by their sponsors. So for the city of Nashville, there is no concerns about public funds being used for the event. A lot of times in the past, we've seen events. I can think of like the Las Vegas Grand Prix, Denver Grand Prix, the Boston Grand Prix, which never occurred, where things didn't work between the city government and the promoters. One thing, though, especially since this was announced as a self-funded event, Nashville is one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. It's averaging around 82 people moving in the city a day. NASCAR has been looking at returning to the fairgrounds for a while, but financial troubles and concern on who will be footing the bill for the upgrades, as well as infrastructure concerns, have been sticking. Was this a move by IndyCar to beat NASCAR and having a race in the Nashville metro area? And especially since it is a financially sustainable event, the Speedway is only a 12-minute drive away from the heart of downtown where the IndyCar race is taking place.
Well, I don't really see it being a competition between like NASCAR and IndyCar here. I just see it as IndyCar doing their best to capitalize on the cars that have been dealt with this situation. NASCAR, they wanted to go to a fairgrounds, but Nashville Super Speedway the best they could do right now. And I understand that there have been talks of NASCAR potentially going to a street course one day. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I mean, the 2021 schedule is going to be released, I believe, in segments soon, right around the corner. So we'll just have to wait and see if we're going to see a street course on the NASCAR schedule. But it seems like IndyCar really capitalized to get the street course in Nashville. And I understand it's really well. It's real well with the street courses. We haven't seen, like you mentioned, we haven't seen a new one in a long time. So this is certainly a welcome sight to see.
Very welcome sight to see indeed. One of the big things, of course, Nashville is a growing market, is in the Southeast. A lot of race fans all across the United States could come to this area and watch the IndyCar race. IndyCar has always not been seen as like a big Southeastern sport, but definitely this will get them a good big market. One question as well, too. This is alters NASCAR's plan on having a strong presence in Nashville, now that IndyCar is going to have a race within the city limits right before they do.
Well, I'm not really big on the IndyCar versus NASCAR thing. I think every series of motorsports, regardless of the discipline, I believe that they need each other in order to survive. And I don't want to say like, hey, I want NASCAR to succeed and IndyCar can be like a step below or vice versa. I want both NASCAR and IndyCar to succeed. And I feel like that both having NASCAR at the Super Speedway and then IndyCar on the streets in downtown, I feel like the motorsports market there could really take off.
Definitely, it could really take off, grow. It's going to be really interesting to see how everything essentially grows and how this agreement works out. I know a 3-year deal is really good for both parties. One of the things, I know a lot of people are starting to get ready. Can't really go out there and party this year, but you can definitely follow along at home. Is the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Kobe, how excited are you for the 24 Hours of Le Mans?
I mean, it's a great thing to see the event still happening this year. When everything started shutting down with the pandemic, I didn't really expect to see Le Mans this year, honestly. But just seeing the event happen, that's a really great thing for motorsports. No matter what, it doesn't matter if it's in June, if it's in July, August, or September. It's still the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and it doesn't matter if we have a large number of program teams in comparison to the factory teams. It's still a great event. No matter what, no matter where you're ranked on the FIA driver ratings board or what class you're competing in, winning at Le Mans, whether it's overall or in class, is a special honor within itself. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to watch a lot of Le Mans this weekend because I have a lot on my plate. But in between breaks, hopefully I'll catch maybe a few hours or so. But Yeah, but definitely looking forward to Le Mans this year.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans is one of the biggest races annually. It started on May 1923 with the first 24 Hours of Le Mans. In total, there has been 87 runnings, 10 of which have been canceled in 1936 and 1940 through 1948 due to World War II. The track is 8.46 miles long. It consists of public roads and a permanent road course. The public road section doesn't have the best grip and is more bumpy compared to the closed circuit part. Tom Christensen has the most wins with 9 total over Jackie Ick's 6 wins. The race was created to push the technology of vehicles and reliability. With the event, we've seen increased fuel efficiency, safety upgrades, and push vehicle development further. The event is organized by the Automobile Club OSET committee. Teams are invited to the race, so there is no open entry. It is essentially invite only.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans usually takes place in June around the summer solstice. However, due to the ongoing global pandemic, the 2020 race is taking place this weekend in September. And some of the big differences I will notice this weekend are the temperatures, which will be cooler in comparison to June. So Circuit de la Sarthe will have just a bit more grip. And in the summer, over there in France, they typically experience long days, short nights, just like we do over here in the United States of America. But however, being in September, we're going to see longer nighttime conditions at Le Mans this year, which is going to be way different. So it's going to be interesting to see how the teams and drivers are able to adjust to that change. And with Circuit de la Sarthe, the track has a lot less lighting than they do in comparison to racetracks all across the United States.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans is consisted of 4 classes. First class is LMP1. It includes the prototypes without energy recovery system and prototypes with energy recovery system. This is commonly known as ERS. In total, it's 833 kilograms, the minimum weight, 878 kilograms for hybrid vehicles for the minimum weight. The numbers have a red background, and this consists of professional drivers and manufacturers, no privateers. The next class is LMP2. It is open to privateers. In total, there are 4 constructors: Dallara, Orica, Riley, and Onrock. In total, the cars could weigh minimum 930 kilograms. All the engines have a Gibson V8 4.2-liter engine, and the numbers have a blue background. And next up, Lmgte Pro. This class consists of 2-door road-legal sports car, professional teams, and work teams. 1,245 kilo is the minimum weight. The class consists of naturally aspirated and turbocharged petrol engines. The cars do have a green background for the numbers. Very similar to this is Lmgte AM. The same car, but a mix of pro and amateur drivers. Cars must be at least 1 year old, and they have orange backgrounds to the number. Originally planned to be in the race was the innovative car. The goal of the innovative car was to prove that restricted movement does not rule out racing. The number 84 would have been designated to this car participating in the race.
Now looking at some of the teams to watch this year, we have 59 cars, and starting off with LMP1. It's a 5-car fill in LMP1 after Janetta withdrew, and looking at some of the teams in LMP1, we have Rebellion Races #1, Bruno Senna, Norman Nader, and Gustavo Menezes complete the lineup. Then we move on to the factory Toyota hybrids. Toyota Gazoo Racing #7, Mike Conway, Kamui Kobayashi, and Jose Maria Lopez. And then the defending champions, #8, Sebastian Buemi, Kazuki Nakajima, and Brendan Hartley. And Fernando Alonso was in Brendan Hartley's place in 2018 and 2019. The #8 Toyota is looking for its 3rd consecutive overall victory at Le Mans. Joe, do you think Toyota's #8 car can win for the 3rd straight year?
Absolutely. I don't see why it cannot win for a 3rd straight year. Brandon Hartley, really good driver. I see a lot of potential in him. And getting that win with Buemi. The team is really good. I can only imagine they have prepared him. He is ready for this, and he wants to prove he could go out there and be one of the best.
And now switching over to the LMP2 class, the 24-car field. And one of the more notable entries is the number 21 entry from Dragon Speed. And one of the drivers competing is Juan Pablo Montoya, two-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, 2003 winner of the Monaco Grand Prix. And technically, Juan Pablo Montoya could get the triple crown if his LMP2 squad can snag the overall win. And with only 5 LMP1 cars this year, a race of attrition in the top class could play into Montoya's hand in 2017. 2 LMP2 cars finished on the overall podium. Both of those entries were from Jackie Chan DC Racing, and Montoya's co-drivers in the number 21 are Memo Rojas and Timothy Burrett. And Dragon Speeds run a 2-car LMP2 operation. Then with the number 27 entry, Ben Hanley, who recently ran the Indianapolis 500 with Dragon Speed, Ringer Van der Zande, who races for Wayne Taylor Racing and IMSA, driving the number 10 Cadillac DPI, and gentleman driver Henrique Hetman. And looking at the number 50 entry from Richard Mill Racing, it's an all-female lineup with Tatiana Calderon, Sophia Flores, and Betsy Visser. And we're going to have more on these 3 tomorrow on Grit Girls. And the number 38 Jota Sport entry is Anthony Davidson, most recent Formula E champion Antonio Felix da Costa and Roberto Gonzalez completing the lineup. And some other notable names in the class, we have Jean-Eric Verg, the two-time Formula E champion driving with G-Drive, Nick De Vries, the Mercedes Formula E driver, racing with Racing Team Nederland, Paul di Resta, ex-F1 driver with United Autosports. And speaking of United Autosports, di Resta's number 22 team has won the last 3 FIA WEC races at Bahrain, Coda, and Spa-Francorchamps in the LMP2 class. And his teammates are Felipe Albuquerque and Phil Hansen. And also have 2 drivers from IMSA racing for the same team. G-Drive racing by Algarve is Nick Tandy, and Oliver Jarvis and Tandy is a Porsche factory driver in IMSA's GTLM class. And Oliver Jarvis races the Mazda DPI. And Joe, looking back at Juan Pablo Montoya, do you think if there's a race of attrition in LMP1, only 5 cars, so we could see a few of them drop out of the race, and Jackie Chan DC Racing that year, 2017, could have potentially won Le Mans. Do you think if Dragon Speed is in the right place, right time at the end, could Juan Pablo Montoya beat Fernando Alonso to the Triple Crown?
Quite possibly. I mean, this is a big surprise. I think a lot of fans were not anticipating. Of course, it was very recent. This announcement was made about Montoya. The way 2020 is, I would not be shocked if for some reason we have some sort of craziness and all of a sudden we're talking about the new Triple Crown winner is Juan Pablo Montoya. I would say that would be a bigger shock to me than Pierre Gasly winning the Monza Grand Prix. I know with Formula One, you could always have a crazy race. Pierre Gasly happened to win it. It had somebody told me, Joe, Montoya is going to win the Triple Crown in 2020. I would say, I don't see that happening. No. But the way 2020 is, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I would be surprised. But the way 2020 is, it's like, it's just part of 2020.
Yeah, 2020, especially for me with all these technologies that have been happening lately, just really frustrating. But getting back to the point, Juan Pablo Montoya, I really don't see him winning overall either. It's certainly possible that all 5 LMP1 cars could have issues, and Dragon Speed could be out front at the right time. But I just don't see an LMP2 winning overall. I think a podium is certainly possible, but I don't think the overall win is going to happen. And if it does, I agree with you. That would be a huge shock, just like Pierre Gasly winning the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. And now looking at the 8-car Lmgte Pro field, we have 3 manufacturers this year, Ferrari, Porsche, and Aston Martin. But there's one noticeable absence. For the first time in 2 decades, Corvette Racing won't be competing at Le Mans. General Motors decided to pull out of the French Endurance Classic to focus on their IMSA GTLM program this year. From the United States, Le Mans almost feels empty without the presence of Corvette, and we can only hope to see them return to France next year. And some of the notable names in Lmgte Pro is James Calado, who raced for Jaguar and Formula E this year, going to be racing with AF Corsa. Sebastien Bourdais is going to be with Risi Competizione, and just announced that Bourdais is going to be returning to IndyCar full-time next year with AJ Foyt Racing. With Alex Lynn, another Formula E driver, is going to be with Aston Martin Racing. And we have Jaguar's newest Formula E driver, Sam Bird, racing with AF Corsa. And then the number 63 WeatherTech Racing Ferrari entry moved up from LMGTM And that trio is Cooper McNeil, Tony Vilander, and Jeff Siegel. And those names are familiar from Scuderia Corsa's GT Daytona program and IMSA. So Joe, looking at GTE Pro past few years, it's been stacked. We've had Ferrari, two F Corsa entries, Ricci Competizione. Then we've had 4 Porsches. Yeah, the two cars that run full time in WEC, and the 2 IMSA Porsches. And then Aston Martin has their factory squad. Then we had the 4 Ganassi 4s, and then the American Muscle Corvette Racing. How big, like from the United States, from how big of a standpoint, and are you really going to be? Is it going to be like surreal when the green flag drops and there's not going to be a single Corvette on the grid in LMGT Pro?
Yes, definitely. I think it's a big shock that we don't have Corvette. Of course, we know it's part of the pandemic, but to have essentially no American manufacturers in the race, a lot of times in the United States, especially a casual race fan, they are loyal to Chevrolet, Ford, their brands. We're not going to have that this year. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Toyota fans out there. So I do think, you'll see that, but it's still not the same. We're not going to have Corvette racing. And of course, Corvette, brand new car. We're not going to have, I think the big enthusiasm we would see. I would say it's very similar to how when the United States men's soccer team failed to make the World Cup. Very similar effect. Yeah, it's still a big event. You're still going to have the diehard fans watching it. But for the casual fans, hey, is Chevrolet, is Corvette racing? Not this year. Oh, well, maybe I'll watch next year. And I think that's going to be something we'll be hearing a bit.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be really crazy not seeing Corvette on the grid this year. But with everything going on in the world right now, things like that happen. But moving forward, I'm sure we'll see Corvette back at Le Mans next year and the year after that, assuming that crazy things don't happen in the world. And now the final class, LMGTM, we have 22 cars, and one of the teams that I want to recognize in that class is Team Project One, the number 57 Porsche, and the trios Ben Keaton, Jerome Blickemoda, and Felipe Fraga. And this is a recognizable lineup to IMSA fans from their trio success driving for Riley Motorsports and GTD. And we have our second all-female lineup, the Iron Lynx, number 85 Ferrari, Manuela Goster, Rahel Fry, and Michelle Godin. And I'm sure there will be more coverage on them tomorrow in Grit Girls. And other notable names in the class is Giancarlo Fisichella, former Formula One driver who's driving for AF Corsa. Then we have Tom Blomqvist, who has experience in Formula E and touring cars, racing for Hub Auto Racing, and have former IMSA Corvette racing driver Jan Magnussen driving the JMW Motorsport Ferrari. And one final driver I want to recognize, Augusto Farfus, the BMW factory driver, trading his BMW for an Aston Martin.
One of the big things with the 24 Hours of Le Mans, of course, it is a 24-hour race. There are some people that stay up till 24 hours, but definitely if you need something to try to get yourself excited for the great race, a couple movies I recommend. Le Mans, the movie, starring Steve McQueen. Wonderful movie. It takes place back in the day when a lot of folks will consider it the golden era of 24 Hours of Le Mans. He's driving for Porsche. It's essentially him and his Porsche versus Ferrari. A really good movie. And then, of course, the newest movie that came out last year, Le Mans 66, or if you know, as known in the United States, Ford versus Ferrari. That is a great movie. Christian Bale, Matt Damon, they highlight essentially the journey that Cheryl Kelby and everyone went to try to beat Ferrari in 1966, 24 Hours of Le Mans. So definitely, those are a couple of good movies to check out, watch, get yourself in the mode, ready for Le Mans. It is the great race, something that very few people, get an opportunity to race in, even earn a win. Very rare, but it's definitely a unique treat. And of course, hopefully in 2021, everyone could attend the race and it'll be in this normal June starting date.
Yeah, definitely. We want to see more normalcy in 2021. Hopefully we'll get there at some point. But for now, just have to deal with the car, deal with everything that's happening right now and try to keep a smile on your face during tough times. And want to look at one more announcement from coming out of Le Mans. Singatec Alpine will step up from LMP2 to the LMP1 class next year, campaigning an updated version of Rebellion Racing's current R13 Gibson. This car will be grandfathered into the new Le Mans Hypercar class, and the team will be known as the Alpine Endurance Team. and putting together a 2021 program running the grandfather LMP1 allows the team to get experience in the top class before making a move to LMH or LMDH. And most recently, Renault announced its F1 team would rebrand as Alpine, and starting next year, Alpine will be racing in both F1 and endurance racing's top category. Do you think Alpine will become a household name over time in the motorsports world? I mean, having the French brand in both F1 and going for overall glory at Le Mans is a big deal.
It's definitely the best way to get yourself out there. 24 Hours of Le Mans, Formula One. Formula One, you're going to have Fernando Alonso. Can't get a bigger name besides Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel. Fernando Alonso is up there. So this is definitely a good effort for them to try to get the name up there, especially this rebranding effort from Renault. I do think it's going to be a smooth, essentially, transition, because it is going to be more of a rebranding. The big thing for the consumer, a lot of times, we've seen race fans, especially, oh, you mean Renault? Yeah, that's Renault. Well, this is Alpine. When it comes to the consumers, it's making sure the consumers recognize that's Alpine. That's the winning team in Formula One. That's the team in 24 Hours of Le Mans that I support. And I think big thing is they're going to try to especially get casual fans, potential consumers are going to recognize the Alpine name and then go to the market and look for Alpine products when it comes to getting vehicles.
And speaking of another French brand, Peugeot is holding a press conference on Friday regarding their return to endurance racing. And Peugeot is set to join the top prototype category in 2022. Additional details about their program will be revealed at the press conference. And there's so much optimism surrounding the future of prototype race at the top level with Le Mans Hypercar and Le Mans Daytona H. I mean, we have Toyota, Peugeot, Glickenhaus, Bicols, and Alpine committed to the top category. And we should certainly have a lot more manufacturers join over time, especially on the IMSA side with LMDH. We have current manufacturers over there, Acura, Mazda, and Cadillac, and it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to switch from DPI to LMDH or even build a Le Mans hypercar. Could we truly be entering another golden era of prototype racing?
Quite possibly. I mean, it's going to be really exciting to see what happens with the prototype racing. Big thing is, of course, as the class grows, people grow interest in it. I think it'll be really wonderful to see Le Mans be seen as a worldwide, especially in the United States, be a worldwide event where you can't miss it. I know in the United States, it's a very competitive sports market. Everyone looks forward to Indianapolis 500, Daytona 500. Outside of motorsports, there's big events such as the Kentucky Derby. It's the only race where people recognize horse racing. If the 24 Hours of Le Mans could be that big where it's like, okay, it's June, we're coming to summer solstice. That means the 24-hour Le Mans is coming up. I want to learn about it. I want to see what's going on. And we can have a strong prototype class. That's going to just make this race better.
Yeah, certainly. Really excited for the future of top flight prototype racing. I listed those manufacturers: Toyota, Peugeot, Glickenhaus, Bicol, and Alpine. And then we have to assume the IMSA manufacturers over there may join in the equation with either LMH or LMDH, Cadillac, Mazda, Acura. We could really be seeing a wonderful era of prototype racing upon us. And I'm really excited because this formula for the future has a lot of potential to be something wonderful that we'll be telling our kids and grandkids about.
Very much a lot of potential. It's going to be really exciting to see. One of the exciting things, of course, going on, NASCAR silly season. Seems like it just keeps going and going. The latest, Daniel Suarez announced he will not return to Gaunt Brothers Racing next year. The number 96 Toyota Camry ride is open. Many thought Suarez would stay in the Toyota next year, try to build that program up, especially try to get it. They look like they've been getting a little bit better, especially with the new qualifying format. They're not relegated to the back all the time. Instead, Suarez is now a free agent looking for a more competitive ride. What are some of the possibilities that Suarez could land for a ride next season?
Well, I'm not really sure where Daniel Suarez could be next season, but several people have linked him to the number 43 ride that's been vacated by Bubba Wallace, and I could certainly see that as a possibility. I'm not sure what else could be out there for Suarez, and there might be a seat open at JTG Daugherty Racing next year as well, so maybe that's a possibility. And also, Suarez may want to consider looking for a top ride in the Xfinity Series. Yeah, there were some rumors out there last year that Suarez was close to racing for Richard Childress Racing in Xfinity, and I'm not really sure if that's going to be an option for him, but certainly anything could be on the table right now for Daniel Suarez.
Yeah, the sponsorship he brings, a lot of potential. I think last year was just really unfortunate how late he was informed that he won't be returning back to the 41, and then put in such a situation. With Suarez vacating the 96, Jim Utter from Motorsports.com released an exclusive story with an idea on who could potentially replace him. Jim Utter claimed could be Bubba Wallace, the new driver at Gaunt Brothers Racing next season. Last week, of course, Bubba Wallace announced that he will be leaving Richard Petty Motorsports at the end of the year. According to the report, Gaunt Brothers Racing will see several changes if Bubba Wallace comes in. This will include acquire a charter. That team doesn't have a charter right now. New investors, new sponsors, more support from Toyota. Kobe, if all the stars align, would this be a good career move for Bubba Wallace?
Yeah, especially after you listed all of those things. Gaunt Brothers right now, they don't have a charter, and having a charter lock them into the field so they wouldn't have to worry about missing a Daytona 500 like they did earlier this year with Daniel Suarez. And then new investors and new sponsors bring more money to the program and more support from Toyota, a lot more than they're receiving now. That would be incredible for Gaunt Brothers Racing. I'm sure that's not going to bring them into the conversation of being championship contenders overnight, but certainly it would boost them up the grid quite a bit. And over time, if everything goes well, this potential move could be a great one for Bubba Wallace over time. But like Rome wasn't built on a night. It's not like, if all of this were to come together, it's not like Bubba Wallace is going to be racing in the top 5, top 10 weekly. It's gonna take some time, especially if we see this organization restructure.
Yeah, it's going to take time for this organization to restructure. It sort of reminds me of, and a lot of people have been mentioning this online, Furniture Row Motorsports. When that team, they had an RCR Alliance, they were doing all right. Regan Smith was able to get them a win. Martin Truex comes in. They didn't get that good of a year. But then when they switched to Joe Gibbs Toyota Alliance, then they saw a lot of improvement. The big thing I really feel is a big challenge ahead. We asked on Twitter, did people see this move by Bubba Wallace as, yes, he's contending for a win? No, this is not a good move, or unsure. Most people voted unsure because it's a pretty big risk. We could see this all work out. He could have good runs, but we know at the NASCAR Cup level series, it is so hard to try to earn that first win. Definitely, it seems Bubba is up for the challenge if he goes this route. If he goes this means he's in it for the challenge. Because we know there's been reports that Chip Ganassi wanted him. We know there's rumors that he could go to the 48. If he goes to the 96, that really says something about his commitment and improving a team and being in it for the long haul. Now, it's time for some quick takes.
2019 ARCA Menard Series East champion Sam Mayer will join JR Motorsports' NASCAR Xfinity Series program next year, running a part-time schedule. The 17-year-old will make his debut in the second half of the 2021 season when he finally turns big 18. He currently runs for GMS Racing in ARCA and has made select truck starts with them as well. And returning to JRM is like coming home for Mayer because he used to be a part of Junior Motorsports' late model program. And after a partial Xfinity schedule next year, Mayer plans to compete full-time for the Xfinity Championship in 2022.
Goodyear is expanding their role at the 24 Hours of Lemans. Typically, the Goodyear blimp is common sight at NASCAR races. Now, the Goodyear blimp will be flying over during the 24 Hours of Lemans at the Circuit de la Sarre. Recently, Goodyear has really stepped up its involvement in endurance racing overall. Next year, they will become the exclusive tire supplier for Lmgte 2.
The NASCAR Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series will be changing names once again. However, it won't be a brand new name. They'll be returning to the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series starting next year.
Scott McLaughlin is still looking at a potential IndyCar debut this season. Originally scheduled for earlier this year, the pandemic has halted all plans for his potential IndyCar debut. With the Bathurst 1000 ending the season, he can make his appearance at the St. Pete's Grand Prix, the season finale for IndyCar. The big thing, there is strict travel restriction, and the government will decide if he receives a travel waiver, allowing him to travel to and back to his home country. According to a report from Auto Auction, McLaughlin is tipped to race in the United States next season and join Team Penske in an IndyCar or possibly NASCAR role. Scott currently leads the Australian Supercar Series points and the grid ranking.
2021 NASCAR Hall of Fame inductee Red Farmer is at home recovering from COVID-19. Farmer spent up to 5 days in the hospital, and in an interview with Rick Carl of WVTM 13, Farmer said that he had a fever of 104 degrees, and the doctors told him that if he went to the hospital just 1 day later, the outcome might have been a sad one for the 88-year-old member of the Alabama gang. And Farmer thanked the doctors and nurses for saving his life. And Farmer really hopes to resume his dirt late model racing program next month following his recovery.
We're definitely excited to hear that Red Farmer is improving. Definitely want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. We're still thinking about it, everyone, especially here in the Oregon area with the wildfires going on. It's still causing a lot of smoke in the area. So definitely think of all our neighbors here in Oregon. One of the ways you could watch the entire 24 hours of Le Mans is to create an account on Motor Trend On Demand. Motor Trend offers a free 14-day trials, and you can see the entire 24 hours of Le Mans. Besides the 24 hours of Le Mans, they also show all WEC World Endurance Championship events, European Le Mans Series, Asian Le Mans Series, and the Australian Supercar Series, and more. Race coverage starts on Motor Trend at 8:15 a.m. Eastern on Saturday morning. And don't forget, Grid Live, noon Eastern, we will preview the NASCAR, MotoGP, World Rally Championship, Australian Supercar Series. So busy week for the grid ranking, and we'll provide some updates throughout the 24 hours of Le Mans. And tomorrow, Grid Girls. Kobe, I know it's been a jam-packed show, a lot of news all going on. Overall, when it comes to racing, and especially this upcoming weekend, what are some of the big things you're going to be watching for?
Well, to be honest, I'm not really going to be watching a lot of racing because I got a lot of things going on at school. But the one race that I will be able to cover is that Bristol night race. It's certainly going to be intense. It's going to be the final round of the round of 16, and 4 drivers are going to be eliminated. And we have Matt DiBenedetto, who's on the outside looking in. He's had 2 great moments at Bristol. I remember when he was driving for BK Racing. He took that BK Racing car to a top 10 finish, which was absolutely amazing for what the equipment was at the time. It was probably maybe a 35th place car in general, and he brought it to a top 10, which was amazing for Matt DiBenedetto. And then he was trying to, I believe it was last year, driving for Levine Family Racing. He finished second to Denny Hamlin, and we thought DiBenedetto was going to win that race. And I'm wondering, with his playoff life on the line and potentially his number 21 ride is up in the air right now, could Matt DiBenedetto potentially go out and win at Bristol? And also we have Ryan Blaney, who's down there as well. I'm pretty sure, especially after Ryan Blaney started this season off hot, nobody expected Ryan Blaney to be down there fighting for his playoff life as well.
Yeah, the NASCAR race at Bristol is going to be a big event. Cutoff race, the end of the first round. Those drivers, plus William Byron, they're all going to be really battling hard to try to advance. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I know one of the big things, I'm really going to be following that Supercar Series race, 3 races. If Scott McLaughlin could win 2 of those races, he would for sure ensure another week leading the grid ranking. Supercar Series is going to have a very few number of races left, so it's going to be really interesting to see if he can wrap up the championship and potentially give himself a big enough lead to try to get his first grid ranking world championship. For Kobe Lambeth at the podium finish, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching today. We'll see you next time and have a wonderful evening.